March meeting of the New Paltz Town Zoning Board of Appeals. Entertain a motion to open the meeting. Seconded by Stephen. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting open. Quorum check, April 20th. I'll be there. Steve?
As far as I know.
You're looking, I see.
Check real quick here. People have.
Usually it's included in the body of the minutes.
Yep, all I have on my schedule is ZBA.
You'll be here. Okay, good. So we have three. Three for sure. And,
You have one
John-
on the screen, John Gatto. John Gatto.
oh, John, excellent. So in attendance at the meeting, we have John Gatto also via Zoom. Okay, approval of the November 17th minutes. John, any questions?
None from me.
Okay, Steve, no, I have none.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there, so you can't vote on it.
Yep.
Okay, entertain a motion for, yeah, we can still do it. Entertain a motion for approval of the November 17th minutes.
Go ahead.
You'll second it, Steve?
Yep.
All those in favor by aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next thing, establish an escrow account. ZB 26-009, 600 with replenishment amount of 300. Is that for the applicant today?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk to them. Any comments from the public? Via Zoom? No? Okay, no public comments. No public hearings. Okay, please come on forward. Come on up, grab a chair. Oh, I'm sorry. Add Joe Moriello to our list. He's here. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget you, Joe.
Okay, you're so quiet. Forgetful.
Okay, this is a several step process. The first thing you do is explain to us why you are here. Then we have what's called a public hearing. If any of your neighbors want to come and say yay or nay for some particular reason, they have the opportunity to do that at the next meeting. Will this go to county?
What is?
Bank of America?
Well,
Yeah.
remember that the application is an appeal from a determination of the
Yeah.
building inspector, not a request for a variance.
Okay, but does it need to go to the county? No. Okay, that's good news for you.
And there is a public hearing, but really
I understand.
comments are limited at.
Well, there will be no time lag perhaps to get it to the county and get an answer. Okay, so you are here as an appeal from a decision of the building inspector.
Yes.
So if you could please explain that to us?
So basically we're a paving company. We do concrete and asphalt work. We also do the permits for our work on the Bank of America sites that we do, and also any other sites that we, work on. We submitted these so I guess the discrepancy was we submitted this set of plans without the garbage corral on there. And then on our site map that we work off of as well, we submitted with the garbage corral. So that was missed on the drawings, and that's where, when we had the inspector come out, we had that portion ripped up and poured, and he was wondering why that area was that was pretty much the only area that was in our scope that he didn't approve.
Right, because
So
he didn't
now-
have your.
He didn't have these
Yeah.
updated drawings with the corral on there, correct?
Okay. So,
Just for the record, I'm not sure, I didn't get the gentleman's name who's here on behalf.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric
Eric, last name?
Smith.
Eric Smith.
Sorry about that. I have the,
Eric, are you part of Rose Paving LLC, or are you an owner of the property?
no, I'm a part of Rose Paving LLC, that the property is our client. And I know I was told to bring this form as well. It's basically stating the owner is stating that we are allowed to, or that we are the ones representing for this.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that's in the-
we have an owner's
That's part of
affidavit.
the record, we have an owner's.
Okay. And then the other thing I know as well was a W-9 they
Yeah.
asked for.
That's for establishing the escrow.
Okay. Yes.
Now, the updating of the amount from, 600 from 300, but this check is for 250.
Well, this is for the application. This is the
Okay.
application fee.
Okay. So we need to get that check deposited, okay?
The additional 300 or that 250? I'm assuming that, I just want to.
You want a total of 600?
Well, to establish an escrow would have to be 600. But we would have to get the paperwork first before we can get the check.
Okay, can you email him that paperwork? And then he can
Yep.
get
Yeah,
it
that's not a
back,
problem. And
as long as we have it before. Now, any of that,
Yeah, we usually FedEx overnight it, so that way it's
Sure.
just said the next
and
day.
any of that unused money will be returned to you.
Perfect.
Okay, any questions?
So do we have any discussion now or do we wait until next time?
We can talk about it now,
Okay,
but we will have much more discussion, when we open the public hearing.
right. So I guess I'm, if you can just give me a little bit of, just sort of procedural, how this differs from requesting a variance.
Okay, so the building inspector, because this, where is a picture of it? One of these files. It was not on the plan when it was presented to the building inspector to be built.
Right.
But the as drawn design plans with which they went by, it was on. So the right hand didn't give to the left hand what it was supposed to.
Right.
They were the.
Joe?
Before we get too far,
Mm.
and again, just for the record, my understanding is, or the application has been made, that this is an appeal from a determination of the building inspector,
Mhm.
Correct.
from the building inspector's determination of November 25th, 2025, I believe. Do you have a copy of that, Mr. Smith?
The
Of the
determination letter,
Yes, sir.
not on me.
Not with you,
I
okay.
believe it was emailed to me though.
Okay, I just made a couple of copies. Heather, you have one
Mhm. Yeah.
for the chair.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. It wasn't among the documents that were listed as project documents.
No,
Heather
I don't think it was, John, because it was the determination of the building inspector from which they are now appealing. But it
Right,
could
so
be-
I'd like to know what the building inspector's determination was.
Right.
So Aaron, you can email him a copy of this. Yes, Aaron will email you a copy of that, John.
All right, thanks, Lynn.
Okay,
And that's sort of why I've kind of butted in here to get in early. John, and members of the board, in that determination, the building inspector says that principle, that the relocation of the dumpster, this is down in the third to the last paragraph from the bottom, that the relocation of the dumpster was not part of any approved site plan from the planning board. The last site plan approval was for the ATM upgrades on August 26, 2024. Then the building inspector advised the applicant, and I might add, this is addressed to the owner, New Paltz Properties Kempner Associates. It was not addressed to Mr. Smith in particular from Rose Paving. The building inspector determined you will have to reapply to the planning board for site plan modification or apply for a new site plan. You see that, Mr. Smith?
Mhm.
So, as I said before, this is an appeal from this determination of the building inspector, not a request for a variance. The building inspector's determination essentially was that the applicant had to reapply to the planning board for site plan modification or apply for a new site plan. And having done some research, I think that the reason for that in addition to New York state law regarding site plan approval, the planning board determination resolution of conditional approval that was granted, the date of the approval was August 26, 2024. The planning board imposed some specific conditions and then general conditions. Says the resolution of approval is further conditioned upon all other approvals that are needed by operation of federal, state, or local law, etc. Number 2 says, except as otherwise provided in the code, no deviation from the plans, reports, or other documents that form the basis for this approval are effective unless and until an amendment to this resolution, the planning board resolution, is secured from the planning board in writing. And then its fourth condition is no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions to the plans shall be made after approval has been given by the planning board unless the plan is first resubmitted to the planning board and the planning board approves such modifications. So, and the building inspector isn't here, and I don't mean to speak for him, but from my understanding of the record so far, the principal reason for the denial was that this was not part of the approved site plan before the planning board, and the recommendation, if you will, was that the applicant would have to reapply to the planning board for site plan modification or apply for a new site plan. If the applicant's gonna go forward, this is my legal position talking, it has to prove that the determination of the building inspector was incorrect. And I think the applicant needs jump up into
Chris,
wave your hand, John.
Joyce, you try it. Where's that motion detector anyway?
Hmm.
All right,
There you go.
there you
There we
go.
go.
Thank you.
You did it.
So if you go forward with this as an appeal, the burden on the applicant is to prove that the building inspector is incorrect when he says you have to go back to the planning board.
Mhm.
But that condition that the planning board put on the approval, I can't prejudge this, but it's pretty clear that he would have to go back to the planning board. That doesn't mean that the relief you're looking for to be able to keep this where it is can't be granted.
Mhm.
But what he was saying was, to do that, you have to first go back to the planning board and seek new site plan modification. If the planning board determines no, then I think the applicant would be entitled to come here and look for a variance, but that would be difficult, I think, because there would probably be no recommendation by the planning board to grant it. But if all things happen before the planning board and there's no other place for this to go, the planning board, as we know, can refer the matter for a variance application to the ZBA that can be granted. And if granted, that allows the planning board then to grant a new site plan approval. So, John, I know you don't have some of these things, but I'm trying to put this in a perspective to ask the applicant. You can proceed on the appeal
Mhm.
if you want. Or
More likely better off
the
reapplying for a zoning board or
taking
for
the
the,
advice of and determination of the building inspector to make application back to the planning board again, see what it says. It may feel that it doesn't have jurisdiction to allow this to go somewhere, that far distant from the bank, let's say.
Mhm.
But they might say,
Well,
if you get a variance from the ZBA, you can do it.
I guess my question is.
Yeah.
If it is not on the site plan and it was not approved.
Right.
How do I say, what right do we have to do that?
That's my major. legal
It
concern,
seems to
and I'm
me
sure you do.
that the site plan should be a complete unit and we don't end up with let's just say we contradict the building inspector and we say it's okay, but yet it's never adequately on the site plan.
And I think that's fair comment. I'm not
Mhm.
certain that the board really has the jurisdiction or the ability to make a determination other than, was the building inspector incorrect?
Mhm.
And that may be a heavy lift.
No,
But
and yeah,
you're
that's,
entitled to go forward, and I bring it up now because if you're going to talk about an escrow for an appeal, I'm just wondering if this application maybe isn't gonna result in an appeal at this point, that instead it's going to maybe be asked to be continued until the applicant has had an opportunity to go to the planning board and look for modification of the site plan.
mhm.
I would agree.
So we may not have to get to the issue of that because there's no escrow for a variant. There's an escrow for a bill. Now, John, I realize you're not here and I'm sorry I can't show these things to you, but
No, but,
any questions from where you are?
you know, from what I hear you saying is that, on the face of it, I don't hear anything that would make me conclude that, the building inspector was incorrect. And that's the only thing we could rule on.
Correct, correct. And, you know, if you go through the public hearing and that becomes the determination of this board, you're gonna end up back with the same issue. What can I do? And the answer is, well, you could go to the planning board and look for a site plan modification. You or the applicant may want to take advantage of that at this stage.
I mean, I personally think that's the better idea. I pretty much only thought this was our one option to have this be able to potentially be kept in place, which is what the owner wanted. But after hearing that, I do think that's probably the better option for us to go with.
And just for future reference, would it be the correct, I can't tell the building inspector how to do his job. But if the building inspector finds something that's as built in your particular case, rather than send the time to us and delay it, it would make the most sense to me to send it back to the organization that
Yeah.
did the first review.
The building inspector didn't send this to this board.
Right,
The applicant made an application to appeal the determination.
Yes,
Number one. Number two, the building inspector doesn't really have the authority to send or make an application to the planning board for a site plan modification. What the building inspector did do was notify the owner, you will have to reapply to the planning board for site plan modification or apply for a new site plan. He essentially told the applicant what his decision was. I think you have to go back to the planning board.
I do.
I don't know why that wasn't done, but apparently it was not done. To your knowledge with the planning board, this matter hasn't come back before then since November. Okay. So the building inspector did what he did, but the applicant did not make an application back for the site plan approval. They took an appeal from the building inspector's determination. Do you have contact with the owner? I mean,
Not with the, well, I do have contact with the
to
owner.
discuss
Yeah.
these things with him? Okay.
Mhm.
So in fairness, maybe to the owner, because I think, it sounds like you need time to talk to the owner.
Mhm.
You can set this down for public hearing. I mean, they do have an application for an appeal. After Mr. Smith has an opportunity to discuss it with the owner, we may get a request from the owner either to continue the appeal, in which case they will not have lost any time, or a request perhaps to hold this in abeyance until they've made an application to
Planning board.
the planning board for site plan approval.
Is there a date time that the adjustment to that application for him to the planning board would be that it must be submitted?
The deadline is 2 weeks before the next meeting.
And when's the next meeting?
It is,
Your notice of public hearing has to go in the paper when?
it has to be, at least 10 days before the public hearing.
So that's essentially that 2-week period before the public hearing, right? So there's a couple of weeks before.
Next planning board meeting is April 13th.
April 13th?
Yes, so the deadline would be the 30th of March.
hmm.
You
The
get
end of
that?
the end of this month. And just Easter is the 4th of April, so
Okay.
things are gonna get perhaps get pretty busy the end of March. It would be helpful if we knew what was gonna happen. Then the board might hold off on putting the applicant on, you need to, there we go. On, putting out the public hearing notice, because that notice has to tell the public what the hearing is about, and it's either an appeal or not, so it would be helpful to have it, but if we didn't have it,
So if you get the
the
application,
worst that happens is you cancel the meeting.
so if he gets the application in prior to
The
the
30th.
the 30th of March, then Melissa will have no need to put it in the newspaper.
Or when you say get the application in, I don't know that the application can be complete to go to the planning board by then. But as long as by the end of the month, if this
Okay.
board is notified, you're not gonna go forward with this particular appeal. And we're going to do site plan approval. I think that would be sufficient. And I add that because I think that determination that you're going to go will be something that's important to the building inspector to know, to make a determination as to whether or not he's going to insist on a violation or anything like that. So I think he's got to know the applicant is going to the planning board.
Okay.
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 Sorry to hijack your meeting.
No, that's
This is-
okay.
no,
That's why you're here.
I just thought maybe we should do that ahead.
Okay. Thank you for coming,
Yes, thank you
and
guys so much.
hopefully we will not see you at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Have a great.
All right, bye-bye now.
John, questions before Mr. Smith goes?
No, I think I've laid it out pretty clearly, so nothing from me.
Okay,
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Any other business to discuss? No? No? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All those in favor by aye.
Aye.
Thank you for John.
Thanks, John.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.